metric units of length conversion. Sometimes we have to convert from one form of unit to another. Now, what does length mean, right? I just want to do a quick review. The length of an object, right, is distance between one point to another. So we can say maybe how long something is. So if we have an object like a pencil from here, so let me have my pencil. I'm just using that dot to mark it. So I have a pencil. The length of this pencil is distance from this end to this end. That's the length of the pencil. So length measures the distance between one point or the other. We can also say point A to B. And so because we need to be able to compare this length all over the world, we have standard units. And one of the most commonly used is the metric unit. And the unit used for length is the meter. And that is represented as M. So a meter, when you see meter at the back of any number or anything is calibrated in meter, it tells you about the length, right? And or the distance between one point to the other. Sometimes we use other words like height and height. Sometimes we use width, and then sometimes we also use breadth. All of these things measures the distance between one point to the other, but then now depends on the position. Okay, so now that we have meter, there are other forms of metric units for length, and that's what I want you to understand today. One is the millimeter. We also have the centimeter. Pardon me. Some people spell meter as ER, but I think university is RE. And then we also have meter itself, right in between here, and then we have kilometer. Now, being able to convert between one of these to another requires that you know what these prefixes mean. This prefix before the meter, right? So millimeter is usually written as mm, millimeter, and centimeter is cm, C for centi, meter is m, and then we have kilometer to be k. Now in this lesson, I'm going to be explaining to you what these prefixes on its own mean, right? Now we have the millimeter. Milli itself means thousandth, right? It means thousandth, not thousand. Thousandth, right? Which means that this is 1 over 1,000. So anything that has milli before it means that millimeter is less than a meter 1,000 times, right? Because it means dividing by 1,000, right? While we have centi is from the word century, or centi just like century rather means 100. So in this case, it means hundredth, right? That's 1 over 100. And then, of course, we have meter. Now we have kilo. Kilo as a prefix before meter means 1,000. That's 1,000 now, instead of thousandth here. So this means 1,000. So for convenience sake, you can say that this means divided by 1,000. This means divided by 100. And kilo means multiplied by 1,000. Right? To drive that in so that you understand better, right, let's compare them. If we have meter at the center here, meter. Let's talk about the ones that are smaller than meter. The units that are smaller than meter, we have the millimeter, and then we also have centimeter. They are smaller than a meter. And then the ones that are bigger than meter, so many, but we would limit ourselves to kilometer. That's the most common type. These ones are the common ones. So millimeter and centimeter are less than a meter, while kilometer, right, is greater than a meter, which means meter is less than a kilometer. Now, what all of these prefixes are will tell you by how much they are smaller or by how much it is bigger. So millimeter, for instance, millimeter is 1,000 times smaller than a meter, and a centimeter is 100 times smaller than a meter, while a kilometer is 1,000 times, right, bigger than a meter, right? So let's do some comparison. Let's arrange them from smallest to biggest. Now we'll start from millimeter. Millimeter is the smallest, followed by the centimeter, and then we have meter here, and then of course we have the kilometer, right? To understand this better, and I'll just limit myself to the ones that are smaller. So if I have a meter here, and then I have millimeter, and then I have centimeter to my left, this means that meter, the relationship between centimeter and meter is 100, right? Between meter and millimeter, because milli means 1,000, is 1,000th rather. Now, the relationship between centimeter and millimeter is actually 10. Now, let me ask you a question. Centimeter or millimeter, which one is bigger? Or which one is smaller? Whichever direction you are looking at. Which one is smaller? A millimeter is smaller than a centimeter. That means millimeter is 10 times smaller than a centimeter, and then a centimeter is 10 times bigger than a millimeter. And as such, we can now interpret this and say that we have, and that's why you have things like 100 centimeter equals to 1 meter, 1,000 millimeter equals to 1 meter. You see that pattern? Because these ones are smaller, so we need more of them to be equal to 1 meter. And then we can now say that 10 millimeter equals to 1 centimeter. It will help you to know, it will help you to be able to convert very well when you understand which one is smaller and which one is bigger, and then the relationship between the two of them. There is no need to cram this, since you know that millimeter is smaller than a centimeter 10 times. So it has to be more of millimeter that will give us a centimeter. And since we know that centimeter is smaller than meter, because centi means 100, we know that centimeter is 100 times smaller than a meter. Also, since we know that millimeter is smaller than a meter, and milli means thousandth, so we know that it is 1,000 times smaller than a meter. Once you are able to understand the meaning of these prefixes, it makes your conversion super easy. I will show you more examples in the second part of this lesson.